was summer 2006, in a small village in Ayrshire, Scotland. I was just a 14-year-old boy on my way home from school on a Friday afternoon. The atmosphere of the day was happy and cheerful, as everyone at school was displaying their usual excitement to be finished for the weekend. I got home. I entered the side door to my house, which has access straight to the driveway, and locked it behind me. I was always careful and thorough in this process, as I was usually home a good hour or so before everyone else in my family, who took much longer to get home. This always made me feel slightly uneasy, being alone, at home. And not because I was worried some deranged, axe-wielding psychopath might burst in the door or window and seal my fate. No. It was instead that my house itself gave me the creeps at times. It always felt like you were never quite alone, like the house itself had some sort of conscious awareness and a sinister feel. I could never fully explain why or understand myself why I felt this way, but every now and then, it was like the building itself was giving me clues, little noises and strange occurrences that were strange enough to stand out, but nothing to make anyone confidently say it was haunted. That was, until this day. After locking the door, I went through the kitchen, through the hallway and up the stairs to my bedroom, where I gladly exchanged my school uniform for my pyjamas. I made my bed, and gave my room a quick tidy up, and when I was done I closed the door behind me and went back downstairs to make a bowl of cereal to tide me until dinner. I was sitting in the living room, relaxing on the couch while I tucked into my cornflakes and watched some cartoons as usual. This was almost a daily ritual for me. I remember there was a very scene on one of the programmes I was watching. It made me start to laugh out loud. I had a good belly chuckle, but it ended very quickly as I became aware of a noise in the kitchen just behind me. It wasn't your usual house sound. It clearly sounded as if someone had stood on the notoriously creaky floorboard in the kitchen. That particular creaky floorboard me and all my siblings knew fine well to avoid if you wanted to steal snacks from the cupboard past bedtime. It sounded like an adult-weighted person, as the weight even displaced the floorboards underneath it and could be felt in the living room underneath my feet. I froze with fear. And that's when one of the scariest experiences I ever had began. I muted the television, and I sat there listening intently, wondering if maybe my brother had got home early and somehow entered the side door without me hearing it. Despite the fact I had the only key for this door, this was very unlikely, but there was just no other logical explanation as to why someone might be standing in my kitchen, just on the other side of the wall from me. All of a sudden, my heart sank, and a deep pit opened up in my stomach as I heard the person run very loudly from that spot in the kitchen, through the hallway, to the bottom of the stairs. I could feel the floor shake as the footsteps went thundering through the bottom floor of the house. It then continued to stamping all the way up the stairs, and burst open my bedroom door. It opened with so much force that the door hit the wall so hard, and it even rattled the radiator in the living room next to me downstairs. I could hear footsteps and banging noises on the ceiling just above my head, accompanied by the sound of someone furiously searching through my sock drawers and wardrobes. Who knows what they were expecting to find in there, but nonetheless, I was absolutely in sheer shock. I sprang to my feet, dived through the kitchen, unlocked the side door, noting to myself that I had definitely locked it earlier. I ran into the driveway, and in a fit of panic, I used my mobile phone to call my older brother. He was in the car with my mother driving home when his phone started to ring. He answered the call and held the phone to his ear to be met with a panicked shouting gibberish. Bro, there's someone in the house. Holy crap, what do I do? Startled and very concerned, he answered, What? What the heck are you on about? I repeated, whilst growing more frustrated and less patient. There is someone in the house. What do I do? This is not a joke. My brother switched into action mode and started to take me seriously, first insisting that I calm myself down, and reassuring me that my stepbrother or sister was most likely already home and pranking me. I dismissed this conclusion quickly though, as my stepbrother was at football training and wouldn't be home for another few hours yet. Despite my concerns, I stayed on the phone to my brother as he directed me to go back inside the house. He told me to arm myself with any kind of weapon I could find and try to get a look and see who it was. I went into the living room first of all and grabbed the cricket bat from behind the couch, and with my brother's voice in my ear, I quietly creeped to the bottom of the stairs and hesitantly looked to the top of the landing. I was relieved to see there was nothing standing there looking back at me. "Hello?" I shouted. "You're very funny, who is it?" There was no reply. I asked my brother what to do next. "Okay," he says. "Carefully make your way upstairs and look over the banister at the top. But be careful, if it's Paul, then he'll probably try and give you a fright. Do not hit Paul with the cricket bat." I take my first step on the stairway, and I feel the hair immediately start to stand up on the back of my neck. I take another wobbly step, and another, until I reach the top of the stairs. "Okay, I'm at the top of the stairs now," I say to my brother. "I'm going to have a look now." I very slowly raised my head up, peeking over the banister to slowly and carefully reveal what was on the other side. My heart stopped completely. A cold shiver ran down my spine as my breath was taken away in sheer terror. As I'd peeked over the banister and looked to my bedroom door, my door, despite me closing it earlier, was now wide open. I could see into my bedroom and noticed that every single drawer and cupboard door was open. Nothing had been removed from them though. I stood there for a few seconds in complete shock and confusion. That's when I started to look closer. As I gazed in my room, I noticed a shadow moving around. I could see it on the wall. It looked as if there was still someone moving around inside the room. I told this to my brother. He encouraged me to make my way to the doorway and just peek my head in. As I got to the doorway, I froze for a second, because I noticed that the movement had stopped. It was as if it had noticed me or heard me coming. And in that moment, there was a deathly silence in the room. It was as if time had frozen in place. As I peeked my head in the door, I was met with a sight that was almost too dark and disturbing that it corrupted my very heart and soul. This sight has plagued my very existence every dark night ever since that day. It will never leave me. As my head leaned around the doorframe, and I could finally see the inside of the room, my attention was caught by movement on the wall in the corner by the window. Blinds were drawn, and therefore the room was still dark. But as my vision focused, my attention was caught quickly by movement in the dark corner by the cupboard. I was straining to try and make out what it was, but that's when it hit me and I realised that what I was looking at was a figure, a human-like figure, kind of, except this had a tail and it was completely black. It crawled on all fours like a beast, except it wasn't crawling on the floor. No, it had crawled halfway up the wall. It continued onto the ceiling and sharply turned its gaze to me. It locked eyes with me, and that's when I could see its corrupted, evil face. It was just sheer black. It looked almost cat-like. The only detail I could see on it was its teeth and its glowing white eyes staring back into my eyes like it could see into my soul. The strange thing is, I can't even remember what happened after that. At all. Completely. To my alarm, my brother said he found me when he came home, still standing in the bedroom just looking at the ceiling. He said my room was normal. No cupboards or drawers were open. I still think they think I imagined it, or made it up. Even until this day, they don't really believe me. I can tell. I guess I can't blame them, really. But the scary thing is, I still have no recollection of what happened the rest of that night. All I can remember is the horrible feeling of dread I experienced as I stood there staring at its face, unable to move or scream. And then all of a sudden I wake up in my bed the next morning. Am I okay?